We are delighted to welcome you to the special live broadcast of the 4th Randoli Perahera of the Kandy Esala Perahera 2023, brought to you by the Media and Special Projects Bureau of the Sri Dalada Maligawa Kandy.
You are now seeing the Perahera officials obtaining the permission and blessings of the Devadana Nilame, the lake custodian of the sacred tooth relic, before commencing their street perambulations.
You are now seeing the Devadana Nilame making his way from the upper level, the Ihalamalaya, to the lower level chamber known as the Pathamalaya of the Vedasitina Maligawa, and he is seen ceremoniously and reverentially carrying the Perahera casket under much protection of the custodian prelates, which we will be seeing now.
We are now seeing the Perahera casket, which contains 32 relics of the Lord Buddha, being placed with the Ran Hilige that is mounted on the lavishly costumed tusker, who will uplift the majesty of this great procession.
These officials are seen offering flowers and floral garlands to the Perahera casket, and this is the 9th night procession of the Kandy Esala Perahera 2023, the grand festival of respect that pay homage to the sacred tooth relic to honor Lord Buddha.
This is the devout moment when the royal tusker shall step majestically down from the Mahavahal Kada, the main entrance on to the Sandagada, the moonstone, amidst the tune of traditional Nagasingha music, in preparation to parade the streets of the Kandyan city.
Today the royal tusker will be Vasana of the Ruhuru Maha Kataragama Devalaya, and as part of the customaries of the 4th Randoli Perahera, he will be walking on white carpets known as Pavada and under the large decorated canopy known as the Uduviyana.
We are witnessing an aerial picture when the Kandy city is all alight in preparation for the 4th Randoli Perahera.
Walking up front with the sound of thundering whips piercing through the skies are the whip crackers, announcing that the procession has commenced, and these whip masters are tasked with clearing the way for the sacred relic casket and the king.
When looking back at the history, in the ancient times, it was the ruling king or the Bhupati who would parade the streets in the Perahera. But now it is the Devadana Nilame who is the lay custodian of the sacred tooth relic of Lord Buddha, who will resemble the king in the modern day Perahera.
The Perahera is believed to be held in prayer for timely rainfall, and the elements of the Perahera is structured in a symbolical way that it paints the imagery of rainfall. Rain would never be showered without the striking sound of thunder, and these whip wielders are the symbolic imagery to depict the sound of lightning and thunder to the wielders, to pay homage to the rain gods. requesting to bless our crops and cultivations with rain. And throughout the past few days, we noticed how the city of Kandy was dry without any rain. And miraculously, the fourth Randoli Perahera began with a rain which was never expected. Couldn't this be the miracle of the Perahera Chamoda?
Indeed, Nilesh. It is a visual spectacle and also a miracle which lies underneath. It is very well evident with the tiny raindrops which are blessing this fourth Randoli Perahera today.
The whipmaster's duty, which we saw before, was trained by Mr. Upali Jayaratna. Following the whip wielders, we are now seeing the fire acrobats trained by Mr. E.D. Tilakaratna.
Rain does not come with thunder alone. Just as lightning flashes across the skies, this procession too has its flashes of light dancing across the faces of the people lining the streets to watch. These are the fire dancers who are offering fire, inviting the rain gods to water our lands with rain.
Even though it seems very paradox to learn that we offer fire to seek for water, this phenomenon of nature is magnificently depicted and proved once again by this group of fireball dancers who perform this thrilling stunt of acrobatics while illustrating how lightning comes with the rain.
In fact, we see very young performers paying no heed to their age but taming fire just in competition with the others of old ages.
The splendor of the dance is seen when a large group of them perform simultaneously, merging their various fiery elements into an amazing display of light and heat. The tradition is handed down from generation to generation, with individuals of all ages, from the very young to the very old, taking part in the display of priceless and cultural heritage of their clans.
And also, these dancers are being very mindful of the part that fire plays in dispelling darkness, cooking, protecting crops and chenas, and taming the fire and making it an offering to the sacred tooth relic of Lord Buddha, while creating curiosity, satisfaction and amazement on the spectators.
The dancers are seen creating their paintings of fire across the night sky as they move in the procession. For the children, it is fire play, but for
The fireball dance is in fact performed in 3 levels that are known as Bin Thalaya, which is the lower level, Mada Thalaya, which is the mid level, and As Thalaya, which is the sky level, that is definitely the highlight episode of this fireball dance that is performed standing on each other in great discipline and balance.
Coming up next, following the fire acrobats, are the troupe of Buddhist flag bearers who are represented by the Pallekele Open Prison Camp.
And we see these Buddhist flags are preceded by a national flag of Sri Lanka, indicating that this is a national ceremony as well as a Buddhist celebration.
The Buddhist flag is a symbol of faith and peace. The 6 colors of the flag represent the colors of the aura that emanated from the body of Lord Buddha when he attained enlightenment under the sacred Bodhi tree. The strips represent eternal world peace.
The colors displayed in the Buddhist flag represent the perfection of Buddhahood and the Dhamma, which are his preachings. The symbolic identities of these colors are illustrated as blue for universal compassion, yellow for the middle path, red for blessing, white for purity and liberation, and orange for the unshakable wisdom.
The flag bearers create a sense of unlimited compassion of the Buddha. This sight truly calms the undisciplined, wayward minds and focuses them on love and compassion that radiates across the universe, the teachings of Lord Buddha.
And now we are seeing the cloth flag bearers coming into sight.
And these cloth flag bearers are represented once again by the open prison camp of Pallekele.
This unique collection of flags are known as the provincial flags. These include the uniquely designed flags of the 12 states and the 9 counties that were under the rule of the ancient Kandian kingdom.
It was a tradition that the respective chieftain of the state, known as the Raterala, would participate in the Perahera with their respective flag that is unique to their state to showcase their loyalty towards the king. While this traditional display reminds us on the glory and sovereignty of the ancient Senkaragala kingdom, it also represents the symbol of governance in compliance to the 10 great leadership qualities preached by Lord Buddha, known as the Dasaraja Dharma.
The flag seen here could be identified as the sun and moon flag of the Satara Koralaya, lion flag of the Sat Koralaya, white flag of Matale, silk flag of Sabaragamuwa, Berunda Pakshiya flag of the Tun Koralaya, peacock flag of Uva and the lotus flag of Udapalata, which represents the states of Sri Lanka.
These flags are followed by the county flags that represent the counties of Wellassa, Bintanna, Tamankaduwa, Udunuwara, Dumbara, Hewahata, Kothmale, Udabulathgama and Pathapurathgama. And interestingly, the same cloth flags what we saw before are now being represented in metallic form by these brass flags which are represented by Mr. Ajit Mahendra.
These brass strands are metallic representations of the flags belonging to the 9 ancient states and the 12 counties, using its exact same elements that are carved with great precision and attention to minute details, which certainly portrays the great artistry that takes a lot of time, patience and energy. In fact, these artists who belong to the Navandanna clan or Gurukulaya were the same ancestors who used to make beautiful gold, silver and brass ornaments with detailed engravings embedded with precious gems for the king and as an offering to the sacred tooth relic and for the procession.
The army of officials who are carrying these stands are dressed in a white sarong and turban with a bare upper body, which interestingly symbolizes the energetic lifestyle of our people back then in the ancient times. And they too were chosen to be represented from the ones who were practicing the ancient martial art of Angam.
We as a nation should be very proud that this traditional artistry is still being carried out even after many decades in the same exact villages of Kalasirigama and Kalapura that are in the area of Gadaladeniya in the Udunuwara county, that is still famous for its engravings and architecture.
Walking in great discipline in their calm and solid nature are the army of sword bearers who provide protection to the Perahera casket. And this evening, they are being led by the Angampura team of the Sri Lanka Air Force.
Clad in white sarong and a white headdress, this army is seen carrying the raised sword, not in warfare, but in a disciplined walk of calm and serenity. The symbolic idea of these sword bearers is the historic protection that is provided with the utmost might to the sacred tooth relic.
For those who know about the history of the sacred tooth relic would be patriotically proud of how our history was full of bravery.
Coming into sight is the Peramunerala.
We now see the most magnificent sight of the Perahera, which, as Chamoda mentioned, the arrival of the first elephant carrying the Peramunerala. This evening, the leading elephant with the Peramunerala shall be Banda, the graceful elephant belonging to the Honourable Diyavadana Nilame of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, Honourable Pradeep Nilangadala.
And we can see the Peramunerala carrying the secretarial scroll known as the Lanka scroll that is encased in this casket made of ola leaves, has all the duties, royal duties, the details of the procession and the assets affiliated with the Sri Dalada Maligawa.
This is the arrival of the very first Havisi troupe that represents the official musical ensemble who are permanently seconded to the service of the Sri Dalada Maligawa.
The musicianship of the Havisi in Kandy Esala Perahera and for the daily rituals of the Sri Dalada Maligawa are assigned to the most skilled lineages of Havisi drummers who are Uduwela, Ihalawela, Malagammana and Molagala. And they are represented in the first rows of the Havisi troupe while marching to the beat of the drums. And apart from the key lineages, we also see the presence of the other Havisi lineages of this Perahera, representing Vellatota, Moradanda, Heva Vissa, Kahalla and Udupihilla.
Sri Lanka is rich with its own genres of traditional music, and Havisi, which is dignified as the authentic sound of Sri Lanka. The history of Havisi takes us back to the time when the sapling of the Jayashri Mahabodhi tree was brought down to Sri Lanka by Sangamitta Therini, and this evidence marked the fact that Havisi is the oldest traditional orchestra and Buddhist sound offering in Sri Lankan heritage.
Hevisi as the most prominent orchestra of the five-fold musical instruments too has its own variants that are authentic to various parts of the country, known as the Upcountry, Low Country and Sabaragamuwa. The speciality of the Kandy Esala Perahera is the pure dominance of upcountry traditional arts. Wherefore, this particular Hevisi instrumental performance belongs to the upcountry tradition of Hevisi, which is known as Udarata Hevisi in Sinhalese.
The five-fold musical instruments recognized by the Sri Lankan music culture as Panchathuryanada is noted as Athatha, instruments played by both hands, Vithatha, instruments played using sticks, Vitathathatha, instruments played using hands and the stick, Ghana, instruments that are dashed with each other, and Sushira, instruments that are blown. This arrangement of the upcountry ensemble of Hevisi consists of 4 out of the 5 mentioned tunes, except for the Gatabere that represents the art of the tune. If we would identify the other instruments that are played here, now we see the Gajanayak Nilame of the Sri Dalada Maligawa riding on the second tusker, and this evening the Gajanayak Nilame sits on the mount of the tusker Kotte Raja belonging to Venerable Alutnuwara Anuruddha Nayaka Thero, the chief incumbent of the Kotte Rajamaha Viharaya.
The Gajanaka Nilame is the royal official in charge of the king's troop of elephants, and it was a position given to him directly by the king himself. To symbolize this ancient decree, the Gajanaka Nilame, who is attired in the traditional Sinhala Mullanduma, majestically approaches on the tusker first up in the procession.
Now we see the arrival of the Bulat Pade dance that is trained and led by Mr. Nalin Jayasekara of the Sri Dalada Maligawa.
Pada is one of the most serene dance performances of the upcountry dance tradition, which provides a welcoming gesture to the audience. The dancers carry a heap of betel leaves on a white cloth with both their hands, and they dance in style and discipline using footwork to the tune of the Gatabere.
bulat or the heap of betel leaves play a dominant role in Sri Lankan traditions, where it is considered as one of the most respected accompaniment for worship and invitation.
And the positivity that these traditions still continues even among the younger generations who don't forget to worship their elders with betel on their auspicious occasions is a true promising character of our society.
Riding on the third elephant of the fourth Randoli Perahera is none other than the great Gajaba, the tallest elephant who shall walk in the Kandy Esala Perahera this evening. Gajaba belongs to Mr. Ranjit Vijay Singha of the Moranvatta Devalaya in Yakkala. In fact, Gajaba was once a very aggressive elephant who used to dominate the wilds of Galgamua in his youth. Due to being a menace to the villagers and destroying their crops, Gajaba was decided to be auctioned, and right now, this elephant who was considered aggressive is one of the most decent and one of the most well-behaved and obedient elephants who shall walk in the Perahera this evening.
And on the Mount of Gajaba, we are seeing a Buddhist flag bearer reminding us that this is a celebration of Lord Buddha. And coming into sight in the fourth Randoli Procession today is the first troop of Nayandi dancers. The Nayandi dance is one of the most significant dance performances of the upcountry tradition that holds a very prominent position in the Kandy Esala Perahera, especially during the Kumbal Perahera festivities. But today we see the Nayandi dance performance being
The word Nayandi is in fact the name of the costume that is worn by the Nayandi dancers, which is the same costume that is worn by the Kandian West dancer, with the exclusion of the devoted headdress that is replaced with a cloth turban with a knot on the head. This evening, the Nayandi dance is trained by Mr. Vasantha Gunatilaka and Mr. Vasantha Rajangana.
The speciality of the Nayandi dancing is that this dance performance is primarily performed by the primitive Kandian dance artists who have not yet attained reverentially as a West dancer. And any dance artist who aspires to be crowned as a Kandian West dancer should first master the skill of Nayandi in order to proceed.
Following the Nayandi dance, we are seeing the arrival of a very young tusker, a tusker who shall be taking majesty in the future of the Kandy Esala Perahera. He is the tusker Miyan Kumara, belonging to Venerable Bellanvila Dhammaratana Thero, the chief incumbent of the Bellanvila Rajapura Vihara in Colombo. Miyan Kumara Lanka in the year 2013 from Burma.
We are coming to a beautiful performance of Chamara dancers. The ancient poetic anthology that was written during the kingdom of Kotte, that is famously known as the Salalihini Sandeshya, quotes that white tussles in motion alongside the majestic elephants are one of the supreme sights of auspicious visualities. And the Chamara dance is certainly an inclusion to add more auspicious value to this Perahera.
And this troupe of Chamara dancers are being trained and led by Mr. Nimesh Sumanaratna of the Chandahananda Buddhist College. Chamara is a popular upcountry folk dance that is one of the most visually mesmerizing dance acts of the Perahera this evening. The Chamara is a white tussled object that was used historically as a fanning tool to the sacred tooth relic, sacred requilleries, and prominent individuals holding with royalties.
Tussles are fanned to the rhythm of the flute and the Kandian drums, where the cool breeze that is produced by this chamara brings a very pleasant feeling, and this was in fact a regular feature or a regular ritual of the royal courts in our ancient history.
We are seeing two young elephants who are actually sisters who live in the same home. On one side, who shows off her moves is Devmini, and from the other, the charm, modest girl Panchali. Devmini and Panchali are both represented in this evening's Perahera by Mrs. Vijayanthi Perahera of Horana.
I think the sight of Devmini's dance is a pleasing sight for all the kids who are lining the streets to witness the Perahera today.
This is in fact the infusion of the Raigam style which we see in the low country tradition, where Raigam is in fact the hometown of Devmini. Coming up next, we see the Polmal dance performance that is trained by Mr. W. M. Dayananda. The Malpade dance performance, which is also known as the Polmala as we just mentioned, Malhatpade and the Madupore, is also a ritualistic dance performance that has its variations across the traditions of upcountry, low country and Sabaragamuwa. And this act is the upcountry tradition that originates from the Kohba Kankarya healing ritual.
The Polmala or the coconut flower is the flower that blooms from the traditional kapruka or the national tree of bounty, which denotes prosperity. In fact, the national emblem of Sri Lanka too consists of a vase of coconut flowers known as the Punkalasa. The symbol of this dance is to pray for fertility and prosperity, which interestingly is the prime motive of the Perahera itself, where the dancers sing various ritualistic chants that are in fact verses of prayer for prosperity.
Following the Malkade dance, we are now seeing another majestic elephant of the procession. He is the elephant Bibila, who was previously Handula V, the mascot of the Light Infantry Regiment of the Sri Lanka Army. After his retirement, Bibila was donated to the Sri Lanka Amarapura Mahandakaya and is currently under the ownership of Mr. Udara of Kiriyuda.
This year, in the year 2023, we are witnessing the 1713th procession. This procession has been continually held for 1713 years, which is a miracle indeed, which stands witness that we as a nation have our commitment in upbringing the traditions to the future.
Following the elephant Bibila, we are now seeing a troupe of Paturu dancers that is being trained by Mr. Mr. Nalin Jayasekara of the Sri Dalada Maligawa.
Paturu is an upcountry styled folk dance act that is known for its faster tempo when compared to the other folk dance acts that is performed in the country. The dancers hold a set of wooden splinters known as paturu on one hand, and they perform to the beat of the upcountry gatapere drum and the melodious flute while clapping the splinters on various designated parts of the body. Dance may explicitly seem as if it's a singular choreograph, but careful attention will show how this dance involves group work, where we see the performers collaborating with each other as a group and in subgroups while they highlight the unity and harmony among the village youth of Sri Lanka. Speaking of folk dances in Sri Lanka, we are able to notice several notable characteristics such as simplicity, the group collaboration, using of props, enjoyment, and recital of poems. In fact, the building blocks of rural folk dancing implies the social connections between the villages, where the dance act too includes several episodes of interaction among them.
We now see another majestic elephant of the Sri Dalada Maligawa Perahera. Just like how we saw Bibila, who was actually Kandula the fourth in the previous procession, we now see another elephant who is Kandula Veera, belonging to the Kaduwela Sankapiti Viharaya in Kaduwela.
And on the Mount of Bivila, we see a canopy which represents the protection given to the sacred tooth relic while it perambulates the streets of the Kandy city. And now we are seeing pictures of a troupe of Pantheru dancers. The pantheru is a musical instrument that is used as a rhythm tool across all three traditions of upcountry, low country and Sabaragamuwa. But the pantheru dance is exclusively belonging to the Udarata or upcountry tradition of dance. This instrument is a small brass circular framed castanet with 5 cymbals fixed to it, which gives a subtle music sound as it shakes. It was originally used to keep up the beat in the chamber of versifiers or the Kavikara Maduwa, and is considered as one of the authentic tunes that are engaged with the sound offering associated with Dalada Puja.
Kavikara Madu is one of the 5 types of upcountry performing arts that refer to the chanting groups of the Perahera, which we will see today walking behind the royal tusker, carrying the relic casket, as they will be chanting the virtues of Lord Buddha.
It is in fact only in the Kandy Esala Perahera that we are able to witness the Pantheru dance in its most authentic form, and that the costume worn by these Pantheru dancers are in the most authentic form.
And now we see the arrival of 2 young tuskers of the Sri Dalada Perahera, Raju and Sindhu, the tuskers belonging to the Mahanayaka Theru of the Shamopali Mahanikaya to the Askiriya and Malvata chapters.
And on the mounts of Sindhu and Raju we see 2 canopies, again representing that the royal casket is being protected throughout. Coming up next is an event called Raban Krida or Raban Karakavima. They are using a tambourine which is spun and then held on a stick in a sport-like fashion.
This troupe of Raban Krida or Raban acrobats have been trained by Mr. Aryapala Vijayasena. The spinning game of Raban can be identified as a developed performance of the Raban dance, which we are yet to see in the procession. And we see several generations of artists who are of different age levels, young and senior, who have developed this intrinsic skill from childhood by learning to spin various objects.
They spin the Raban in their flexible long cane stick in great balance, and the highlighted episode of this act is when the tambourines are thrown towards the sky and surprisingly caught back with their hands, with no room for failure. The artists do not forget to infuse several creative twists to the play of Raban, where some artists create episodes of changing the Raban with their colleagues, while the tambourines are flying high mid in the air, and we see some artists spinning multiple raban on specially designed stands. And all of these wonderful episodes of skills are certainly expressing the talent behind the native Sri Lankans to the world that witnessed this great pageant today. We can see the usual atrabana or the handheld rabana is too used as a musical accompaniment to this Raban Kreda.
Following the great artistry of the Raban Kreda performance, we are seeing the arrival of the next tusker, Pulatisi Raja, belonging to the Sri Dalada Maligawa. Chamoda, did you know that Pulatisi Raja is in fact the youngest tusker of the Sri Dalada Maligawa stables and also its most recent addition? So he was gifted to Sri Lanka in the year 2017 and he is a Burmese tusker too.
Indeed, regardless of the little experience he has, he's taking majestic and very composed strides across the streets today at this 4th Randoli Procession. And now we are coming to an event which is called the Thammattam Dancers.
Known for the great artistry of Thammattam, once again we are seeing the troupe of Thammattam dancers led by Mr. Sujit Anand of Ridhigama. The Thammattama, also known as the Pokurubereya in Sinhalese and the kettle drum in English, is a vital instrument of the Hevisi ensemble that takes a predominant position in the Perahera as the main sound offering towards the impending requelaries of worship. However, this act celebrates the Thammattama as an individual performance, excluding any other musical instruments that we saw in the Hevisi troupe. The amazing feature about the Thammattam performance is that we see both playing and dancing with the Thammattama, which is evidently why it is recognized as the Thammattam Natuma or the Thammattam dance. This is truly the fascinating beauty of Sri Lankan performing arts, where our artists are gifted with the talent of making more than what is expected and what we are blessed with.
The Thammattama was introduced to the Sri Dalada Perahera as a singular act by the veteran Thammattam artist A.P. Asuranada of Ridhigama in Kurunegala, who is in fact the father of the artist Sujit Ananda, who we just saw who was heading this particular ensemble.
We now see the inclusion of Burmese Sri Lanka and Burma. The two elephants we see here are Salia, belonging to Venerable Urulavatte Dhammarakkhita Thero, the chief incumbent of the Mahiyangada Rajamaharikaya, alongside with Kandulatissa, belonging to the Sabaragamu Mahasaman Devala in Ratnapura.
Indeed, while certain invasions like the British invasion, the Portuguese invasions have proved to have tried to steal the sacred tooth relic from the Sri Lankan nation, the Burmese nation has always offered help to protect the sacred tooth relic. That is why till date the Burmese flags are carried in this procession. Coming up next is a mixed folk dance act. Aggregated into two main types, which are the Shastriya Natum and the dance performances that are based on healing rituals, and the other being Gaminatum or folk dance performances.
Interestingly, Chamoda, previously we noticed how the Raban, the same instrument used by these dancers, are used for a more thrilling act which we saw before. But now, this mixed folk dance which combines the Rabana, the Likeliya, the Chamaraya and the Thalampata creates a spotlight to merge all of these traditions under one spotlight. And this troupe of mixed folk dancing is represented by Mr. PCB Vijay Surya.
Here we see the dance artists representing four different folk dances, which are the Thalampata, Lekeli, Rabang and Savara. The folk dancing, which is also known as Jananatum or Gaminatum, which are dance acts that represent the culture of the native village lifestyle of Sri Lanka, is a unique addition to this procession today. These dance acts have no ritualistic regulations that need to be strictly adhered in comparison to the Shastriya dance acts, just like the West dance acts. In fact, there is a lot of space for creativity in designing the choreography, costumes, tunes, and the other elements of attraction. But the dancing teachers should keep in mind not to hinder the authenticity of the cultures.
but we could carefully identify and observe how they break themselves into sub-teams among themselves based on their designated dance. It is true that it is the same music that is being played for all of these dances, but that involve 4 different props and 4 different steps of dance which are being carefully presented to maintain cultural identity. Here we see the arrival of 2 great elephants. On one side we see the elephant Vichitaraja belonging to Venerable Singhapura Chetiyalankara Thero of the Dibulagala Aranya Senasaya, and the elephant Madhu belonging to Venerable Murundeniye Dhammaratana Thero, the chief incumbent of the Mutiyangana Rajamahaviharaya.
And now we are seeing a troupe of Lekili dancers coming into sight. Lekili is also another interesting folk dance of the upcountry tradition that consists of performers having 2 sticks which are made of wood on their hands, who shall dash them together in a rhythm individually and even among pairs or at times in groups.
Conserving these traditions for the next generations and ensuring that a Perahera will be held is the responsibility of our own citizens. And Chamudra, did you notice that the Chandananda Buddhist College in Kandy trains these students to take part and preserve the culture of the Perahera for the future generations, as we saw not just 1 but 2 dance performances graced by the Chandananda Buddhist College.
Indeed, Nilesh, and this particular Buddhist college has a long-lasting affiliation
Relic is one of the dance performances which has been performed since more than centuries ago. It is proved by the evidence that is still visible to all of us. In fact, the wooden carvings of the Ambakka Kataragama Devalaya that belongs to the Gampola era too portrays a pictorial carving that illustrates a Lee Kelly performance.
The fast tempo that is performed in several episodes of this Lekere dance creates a sense of energy that truly creates a battle atmosphere, which once again connects folk dance with the previously told affiliation with war rehearsing.
Here we see the arrival of two of the most sweetest elephants who take part in the Dalada Perahera this evening. Suddhi belonging to Mr. Premasiri Kaluarachi of Habarana and Devmini belonging to Venerable Boralande Vajranyana Thero, the chief incumbent of the Sambodhi Viharaya, Colombo.
Coming into sight once again in the Sri Dalada Maligawa Perahera is a site of Pantheru dances.
This Pantheru dance act is trained by Mr. Palita Hapugoda.
Since the 18th century, the instrument was used for development of semi-classical dance form, which is an art that is passed down from generation to generation. The dance is classified as a Gananatum as per the theory of Pancha Thurenadaya.
And now we see the arrival of the elephant Rani belonging to Mr. S.M. Samaranayaka of the Velamboda Kandy Devalaya and the elephant Kanchana belonging to Mr. Udara Galapati of Giriulla. It can be noticed how one of the ancient Sri Lankan cloth techniques of batik being infused in the costumes of these elephants. In fact, this set of costumes was gifted for the 4th Ubal Perahera, which we noticed a few days ago. And following the two elephants, we are now seeing a special dance act known as Thalam, once again represented by Mr. Nimesh Sumaratna of the Sri Chandhananda Buddhist College, that makes it the 3rd dance performance to be joined to the Perahera by the Chandhananda Buddhist College.
The Thalampata, or this small set of cymbals, are a vital instrument used in all forms of traditional dancing in Sri Lanka and also in India to maintain pace and rhythm of the dance. That is technically mentioned as the Tit Matre. But here we see the Thalam dance considers these little cymbals as the main prop itself, where the dancers play the cymbals in the denoted rhythm which aligns the footwork and hand movements accordingly.
The young performers dash these cymbals in the choreographed rhythm and perform a dance that creates both horizontal and vertical line movements in this space, using the right moves that are designed in maintaining the cultural element of this act.
The Thalampata dance is recognized as a Gana dance due to the use of Thalampata as the main dance tool, which belongs to the Gana variant of the Panchathurya Nada. This evolves its way as a Gananatum due to the mere reason of how these artists dash their Thalam with each other as a part of their dance performance.
The dancers have not failed to add beauty to the visual appearance of the dance through their costumes and props. And now, following the Thalam dance performance, we are seeing an elephant who joins the Kandy Esala Perahera 2023 for the very first time, and she is the elephant Mali belonging to Mr. Chatura Vikramanayaka of Maligawa. Elephant costumes have been categorized into several variants, and Chamoda, if you would notice, the trunk piece or the nettimale that is worn by Mali is quite different to the regular nettimale that we would see. Following Mali, we are now seeing the sword dance that is represented by Mr. Hasindu Gunawardana of the upcountry dance faculty.
One might wonder why this sword dance is included in such a composed perahera. It is to denote that so many warriors have fought all these days to protect the sacred tooth relic.
The Kadunetuma, or the sword dance, is not at all meant to promote violence in this perahera. That is meant to reflect love, peace and care that is preached by the doctrine of Lord Buddha. This dance actually is meant to be a tribute and to illustrate the bravery of the ancient Sri Lankan warriors who risked their lives to protect Sri Lanka as a nation. At the start of the perahera, we noticed the sword bearers, and we spoke about the same topic on how we should be patriotically proud to see them perform. But this is a dance item which is creatively choreographed to depict the war battles of Sri Lanka.
Indeed. And another duo of elephants are coming into sight.
Yes, and these two elephants are Rani and Sita. Rani belonging to Mr. Chanaka Jayasekara of Pallebedda in Ratnapura, and Sita belonging to Mrs. Nilanthi Veerasinghe of Meerigama. The Nayani dance troupe which we see here are being trained by Mr. Saman Nilvitha, And Chamoda, if you could remember how important the Nayandi dance was during the Kumbal Perahera festivities, where we did not see any West dancing taking place in the royal occasions such as the carriage of godly ornaments. But here in the Randoli Perahera festivities, the Nayandi dance has limited itself to a regular dance performance, isn't it?
Indeed, Nilesh, we see the Nayandi dance as a regular dance performance, but today, preceding the regulars and the VIP and the honorable guests will be the West dancers.
Following the Nayandi dance troupe, we are now seeing two great elephants. Punchibanda, belonging to Mrs. Vijayanthi Perahera of Horana, and would probably stereotype that elephants are only belong to the males, but the elephants belonging to Mrs. Vijayanthi Perahera and Miss Sita Senanayaka truly depicts the gender diversity even among the elite elephant owners who we see in the Kandy Esala Perahera. And following the elephants, we are seeing a Udakki dance troupe led by Mr. M.B. Tennakron. The Udakki dance performance is quite a special dance act among the many different dance items which we see in this Perahera Chamuda. Since we could not just see dancing, we could see singing, we could see playing alongside with dancing, which undoubtedly makes this dance performance a triple infused performance, don't you think?
Indeed, and regardless of this Udakki being the smallest drum of the drum legend of the traditions of Sri Lanka, it creates a spectacle with this fusion of the three acts.
The Kavikara Maduwa, which we see in the Dalada Perahera, takes a prominent role, and the only two instruments that we see in the Kavikara Maduwa would be the Pantheruwa and also the Udakki, which we see here. And the songs which they sing by these players are not ordinary songs. They are in fact verses that glorify the virtues of Lord Buddha, isn't it?
Indeed.
Here we have the great Tuskers Mian Raja and Burma Raja, the brother Tuskers who arrived in Sri Lanka from Burma in the year 2007 in order to be serving as
And now we are seeing a troupe of West dancers.
And the sight of these West dancers communicate the message that we are in the most anticipated and the most glorified moment of the fourth Randoli Perahera, the arrival of the royal Tusker who shall carry the Perahera Relic casket. And these troops of West dancers are being led by Mr. Ishant Ihalavela and Mr. Lasantha Wansekara.
Indeed, Nilesh, and coming into sight, these West dancers announce that we are about to see the pinnacle of the pageant today. If someone carefully watches the whole procession, they will see that this arrangement is constant throughout the 5 segments of the Perahera. fact, the West dance is more than just a ritual. It is a sacred recitation for protection against misfortune. Therefore, the costume of these dancers are also considered sacred. This most glamorous costume symbolically represents the regalia of King Malaya, the royalty who performed the ancient ritual of Hatapas Mangalya, which is a healing ceremony that was held 2500 years ago. It was in the 4th century BC when the first ever Hatapas Mangalya, which is the birth of this Kandian dance, was performed in Sri Lanka by the Malaya king to cure the Dividos, or a godly curse that has been bestowed upon the king Panduwasa Deva, who in fact is a descendant king of King Vijaya, the Indian prince who discovered the land of Sri Lanka. Coming into sight is the Karya Karavana Korala.
The Karya Karavana Korala, who is only seconded to the Devadana Nilame, takes responsibility of the sacred tooth relic. And now we see the most awaited and devout moment of the Perahera, the arrival of the royal tusker who walks under the white pavada and covered by the Uduvian shelter. This evening, the relic casket is carried by the Tusker Vasana of the Ruhunu Mahakataragama Devalaya, who is accompanied by Miyan Raja of the Sri Dalada Maligawa and Kandula of the Kelani Raja Mahavihara. And we see them being escorted by the group of traditional Nagasingha instrumentalists.
We see how the majestic tusker Vasana takes careful strides on the white carpet. And this careful strides reminds us of another tusker, isn't it, Nilesh?
Indeed, we are missing Nadurgamwe Raja in the Perahera this year, but the glory of Vasana shall surely match up to it.
Indeed.
Following the relic casket, we are now seeing the chamber of versifiers, or the Kavikara Maduwa.
The chamber of versifiers are using the thalam or the castanets, the udakya, and then the pantheruva, and they are chanting the glory of Lord Buddha.
The Kavikara Maduwa is in fact a gift from King Keith Sri Narendra Singha to the Sri Dalada Maligawa. And among the many inclusions that were made by this particular king, it also includes the Nagasingham, which we noticed walking ahead of the ceremonial tusker. And the interesting fact is that these instruments are only being taken now, and now we see the flower lantern troupe or the Malpahan, who are being led by Mr. Samantha Perahera.
The youth we see in this occasion are dressed in the most modest costume that we shall ever see in the Perahera. A plain white robe that illustrates the simplicity and the modest behavior that is expected out of a true Buddhist, which is even highlighted in the most gentle walk that we see out of these devotees. There are several forms of offerings that Sri Lankan Buddhists pledge as puja towards the Lord Buddha, and one of its prominent offerings are flowers, and we see both flowers and oil lamps in the hands of the devotees, which interpret this episode of Perahera as an offering of fragrance and light towards the sacred relic casket.
Anyone who will visit the relic chamber of the Sri Dalada Maligawa would surely not fail to witness how flowers are being piled up in veneration of the living Buddha. And now we see the second troupe of West dancers who are tasked with escorting the Diyavadara Nilame. And these West dancers are being trained and led by Mr. Sanjeeva Veerapitiya and Mr. Peter Surasena.
The dancers who perform in this part of the Perahera are not just random participants, but in fact they have been performing in the Kandy Perahera as lineages since the time of their great ancestors. We see the ancestral lineages of Talgahagoda, Veerapitiya, Surasena, Bandara and Ihalavela, to name a few. coming into sight is the late custodian of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, the 19th Diyavadana Nilame, Honorable Pradeep Nilanga Dala, who walks with utmost pride and majesty while bringing the true sense of ancient royalty to this Perahera.
The Diyavadana Nilame, who we saw, is the royal official who granted water to the kings in history and is now designated as the lay protector of the sacred tooth relic of Lord Buddha, which makes him one of the truly respected lay leaders in Buddhism in Sri Lanka.
We can see the utmost effort that the dancers are putting in to provide their greatest respect to the impending approach of the Diyavadana Nilame.
Honorable Pradeep Nilanga Dala is a devoted Buddhist who is honored internationally for his services rendered towards Buddhism and for his outstanding leadership in preserving Sri Lanka's traditions and cultures for many years ahead.
The Diyavadana Nilame shall walk under the Muthukudaya or the pearl umbrella, surrounded by his army of guards and followed by the Vidane or the chieftains of the 10 associated villages of the Sri Dalada Maligawa. We see a very special stance of the order of how the Diyavadana Nilame take the strides in the Perahera.
We now see the Gamdahaye Vidanevaru, or the 10 chieftains of the villages associated with the Sri Dalada Maligawa.
As that marks the end of the Sri Dalada Maligawa procession, the Sri Mahanatha Devala procession is starting, and we see the initial rituals being carried out within the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya premises.
Sri Mahanatha Devala in Kandy is considered as one of the oldest buildings that exist in the city of Kandy, located right in front of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, and is considered as the main shrine that is dedicated towards Lord Natha.
We see the requiraries of God Natha being carried out of the Devalaya to perambulate the streets of the city today at the 4th Randoli Procession.
The Devala Perahera is the flag of the Matale Disawa to symbolize the birthplace of the current Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya, Mr. A.W.S. Bandaranayaka. Now we see the Buddhist flag bearers of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya, who are represented by the Civil Defence Authority of Pallekele. Chamoda, it could be interesting to know the reason why we see Buddhist flags walking in front of the procession of God Natha.
Indeed, Nilesh. One belief is that God Natha is the next in line to attain the Buddhahood. And also, the other implication is that it reminds this whole procession is held in adulation of the great qualities of Lord Buddha. Following that modest walk of the Buddhist flag bearers, coming into sight is the heavy troop of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya.
And this troop of Hevisi is being represented by Mr. SYG Vijayasena.
Just like how the Hevisi troop of the Sri Dalada Maligawa Procession engages in their own routine offerings, the Hevisi troops of the four Esala Peraheras are the actual lineages who still perform in the daily, weekly, monthly and annual rites and rituals of the particular Devalaya. As Hevisi is not just a part of the Sri Dalada Maligawa rituals, but is also similarly important to the offerings of Devalaya, shrines as main Shabda Puja or offering towards the respective god. Interestingly, the tunes that are played by these ensembles are the ones that are unique to the respective Devalaya. It is fascinating to know how all the blend of all these instruments individually contribute to the symphonic sound of the overall ensemble. When musically analyzing the instruments on its own, we see that the daula is used to create a deep echoic sound, The thumb matama, on the other hand, creates a noise that is heard to a far distance, while the horahammer creates a high-pitched wind noise, and all of these put together creates an iconic symphony that covers the heritage of Sri Lanka.
When speaking about heritage of the Srinatha Devalaya, did you know that the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya, which was known as the Jayabhumiya, was in fact the place where the ancient kings in Sri Lanka were used to be crowned, and the exact same location where they were given the chance to pick their royal name.
It is believed that the colors affiliated with God Natha are the colors of yellow and white. So we can see the entire procession.
The Perahera, he is the elephant Rohana. And before we speak about Rohana, I believe his flag is known as the flag of Senkadagala and also as the flag of God Natha. Rohana is an elephant who belongs to Mr. Varuna Kannangara of Horana, and he is. Following Rohana, we now see a troupe of Savarang dancers who are trained by Mr. Dilshan Shalika of the Arya Aesthetic Academy.
Dance items which involve these tassels are used quite often in the Perahera. But this is not the usual Chamara dance we witnessed previously. This dance, which is recognized as the Savarang dance, is a similar dance to the Chamara dance, but with a different kind of a prop.
The Savarama, or the main tool used by these dancers, consists of not one but two tassels attached on both its ends, which makes it a longer version of the chamar instrument. However, the Savarama tool is meant to serve the same purpose as the chamara, which is to fan and cool the impending icon of worship, which was traditionally the king, and today the relic casket or the requilleries of God.
Coming into sight is another troupe of Nayandi dancers. We have been seeing Nayandi dancers all throughout this procession, and they remind us of the iconic West dancer. But the only difference is these Nayandi dancers are sans that headgear.
The Devale is believed to be built as an offering towards god Natha by King Vikramabahu III.
Coming into sight is the Gajanayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahanatha Devala procession.
The Gajanayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya shall sleep majestically on the elephant Kuweni belonging to Mr. Mahinda Millangoda of Kegol. Kuweni. This name itself takes us back to a long drive history state.
Indeed. So the Indian prince who found the island nation of Sri Lanka is affiliated to this young beauty called Kuweni.
In fact, it is the origin story of Sri Lanka itself. And following the beautiful grace of Kuweni, we are now seeing a Raban dance troupe. And this Raban dance troupe shall be trained by Mr. Anjana Dehivala.
Earlier on, we saw a sport-like dance performance using a tambourine, but now we are seeing the tambourine used for the sole purpose of a dance.
The Rabana, or the tambourine in English, is a drum which plays a major role in many authentic Sri Lankan festivals, including the Sinhala and Tamil New Year. Where playing the Rabana, which we call as the Banku Rabana in Sinhalese, is one of the key attractions of the Sinhala and Tamil New Year. And following this dance, we see a Udakki dance performance being represented by Mr. Dhammika Bandara Tennakon.
And in this Udakki dance, we see a mix of all ages performing together in harmony. And the addition of these youngsters tells us that these traditions will be kept and preserved for many more years to come.
The Natha Deval in Kandy is built in the form of a Gedige Devalaya, which is dedicated towards her. It is believed that the Dutch armies has used this same space as their resting place when they arrived to meet the king. Another highlight of the Natha Devala premises is the historic Ashtapala Bodhi tree that is famed as the Well Bodhiya, which is much worshipped by all devotees who visit the Sri Dalada Maligawa. And following the Udakki dance, we now see the arrival of the elephant Sumana, belonging to Venerable Boralande Vajranyana Theru, the chief incumbent of the Sambodhi Vihare, Colombo.
This legally dance performance is a very heady dance performance which is very energetic and which reminds of an ancient martial art which was there in Sri Lanka called Angampora. The design of the costume of this dance is very vibrant. It adds additional color to the pageantry today.
And this glamorous dance is being represented by Mr. H.M.
Coming into sight is another thumb-at-thumb dancing performance.
When we see the art of thumb-at-thumb dancing, how can we not forget to mention Mr. Jagat Asuranada of the Ridhigama clan? In fact, when it comes to Hevisi and thumb-at-thumb, the performances which we find from the city of Ridhigama is truly splendid.
Indeed, the thumb-at-thumb belongs to the Vitatta classification of Panchathuryanada, where it is played using two cane sticks known as kadippu.
Chamoda, the Perahera, was a little silent for the past 2 years without the presence of one very famous elephant. And it's so great who takes part in the procession of the Sri Mahanatha Devale this evening.
And now we see a troupe of West dancers again signaling the impending approach of a very significant event, which is the requilleries of God Natha.
And this troupe of West dancers are being led by Mr. Vishuddhi Srinath Virapitiya. The legend of God Natha takes us down through many cults in Buddhism, including the Mahayana and Theravada traditions, where he is predominantly associated as the future Buddha. In the Sri Lankan history, there are recorded evidence and mentions of God Natha in the Sandesha of Tisara, Gira and Koul, where God Natha was one of the prime deities who was sought by the ancient kings of Sri Lanka. And this evening, the ceremonial role of carrying the requilleries of Lord Natha is delegated to the chief incumbent of the Dikwella Veurukannala Buddharaja Mahaviharaya. Arjuna is accompanied by Kandula, belonging to Venerable Devalegama Dhammasena Theru, the chief incumbent of the Tissa Maharam Raj Mahaviharaya in Ruhuna, and the elephant Bandara, belonging to Mr. L.L. Tilakaratna in Kegol. Followed by the procession of the Buddha, we are seeing the procession of the future Buddha. And let us all take a minute to feel and worship the insights of Lord Natha.
And this second sight of the West dancers at the Sri Maha Natha Devalaya signals us that there is an impending approach of another very important incident, which is the approach of the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Maha Natha Devalaya. But according to the tradition of the fourth Randoli Procession, today a Basnayaka Nilame of a rural shrine will be representing the Basnayaka Nilame of Sri Mahanatha Devalaya.
Traditions of the Perahera are quite interesting to learn. While some traditions are normal, there are some traditions which change over time. And this evening of the Sri Mahanatha Devala Perahera, usually, as you said Jamoda, we see the arrival of the rural Basnayaka Nilame. But a speciality of today's Perahera is that we would be seeing the main Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahanatha Deval in Kandy himself.
It's an interesting fact to note.
Walking in his great majesty is the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahanatha Deval in Kandy, Basnayaka Nilame AWS Bandaranayaka. Basnayaka Nilame AWS Bandaranayaka is also the Basnayaka Nilame of the Ambeke Kataragama Devala in Kandy, apart from his usual duties at the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya. And it is interesting to note that this is his first Perahera festival after being elected as the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya in early to 2023.
Regardless of the drizzling rain, we can see these individuals are keeping up the tradition of Perahera and they're paying no heed to the downpour today. We see the setup given to the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya is similar to the setup that we saw earlier, where the guards are lining the streets to provide the protection to this Basnayaka Nilame who is taking the streets of Kandy today. As that marks the end of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya procession, we are moving on to the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya procession, and we see the initial rituals and rites being performed inside the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya premises.
The Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya in Kandy, that is also prominently identified as the Mahadevalaya of the Great Shrine, is the main Devalaya in the hill capital that is dedicated towards Lord Vishnu among the Satara Mahadevalaya in Kandy. This Devalaya is located northeast to the Sri Dalada Maligawa, which is accessed easily via the Rajavidya and is considered as the most prominent religious site that lies in the city of Kandy, which is only seconded to the Sri Dalada Maligawa. Proceeding ahead of the Sri Mahavishnu Esala Perahera are the flag bearers represented by the Civil Defence Authority of Pallekele. There is a speciality of the flag bearers who we see in the procession of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya. It is believed that Lord Sakra has been delegated by Lord Buddha to protect the land of Sri Lanka. In fact, it was Lord Vishnu who was assigned to be the protector of Sri Lanka and Buddhism in this island. To symbolize this fact that Lord Vishnu eyes his blessing to all of these states and countries represent here, the first item of the Sri Vishnu Esala Perahera would be the state flags. And now we see the arrival of the first elephant, Taraka, belonging to Mr. Kularatna Wijetunga of the Sri Rankadupattini Devalaya in Kaduwela, who is carrying the official with the Irahanda Kodiya or the sun and moon flag.
In fact, knowledge, because this whole arrangement of this Perahera is made in prayer for timely rains, these elephants are supposed to symbolize the dark clouds.
Next we see the official heavy troop of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya led by Mr. Saman Priyantha Arambegedara, who represents the Alutnura lineage of Hevisi.
The Hevisi troop of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya is notably special among all the other Hevisi troops that we see throughout this procession, based on several importances. As we know, the inaugural ritual of the Esala Perahera is the cup situvima, or the planting of jack in the auspicious hour. And this piece of jack plant is being cut from the village of Alutnuwara, that is located in the footsteps of Kadugannawa, which marks the entrance to the district of Kandy. And it is also known as the Alutnuwara Sri Dadibunda Devalaya, that is the main shrine in Sri Lanka that is dedicated to Lord Dadimunda. We can see that the dancers are protecting their most valued instruments. Yet, they are not even thinking to discontinue this great pageant. Isn't it, Nilesh?
Indeed. Rain too is a natural force. But even that natural force cannot stop this Perahera that is pledged to be done till the eternal existence of the sun and the moon. And the visual you see in front of us is nothing but true evidence to support my statement.
Indeed, Nilesh. Putting together such a cultural extravaganza for more than 1700 years is not at all an easy task. Coming into sight is another troupe of Savarang dancers. And we see this troupe of Savarang dancers are draped in a beautiful blue color. The color of blue is very symbolic when it comes to the procession of God Vishnu, because God Vishnu is known to be dark in complexion, and that is being symbolized in the color of blue in the procession. This Savaran dance is symbolic of the fanning for the important people and the relics and requilleries.
When looking at this group of dancers, there is a very special significance that must be illustrated. In fact, this dance troupe, which is the Nithital school of dance since the reign of King Walagamba, and probably isn't this what the kings would have dreamt of, to see their practices being led till the eternal existence?
Indeed. Coming into sight is another Nayandi performance. As these performers take the streets regardless of the rain, we can hear the spectators providing them with a loud cheer to motivate them and to encourage them to take the streets of Kandy today.
Next we see the elephant Muthu belonging to Mr. Indika Mudunkoth of Manikinna, and Chamoda, the flag being carried by this official is a very special flag which we call as the Savarankodia, which was presented to the people of the Satarakoralaya by King Senarath as a recognition for their bravery, and it is the practice that the Savarankodia shall only be taken out from the third Randoli Perahera onwards. Following Muthu and the Savarankodia, we are now seeing a troupe of Lekeli dancers.
Since you mentioned the word Lekelia, some might be wondering what this translates into. The word Kelia translates into the battle. So these individuals are doing a performance to demonstrate the number of battles which were fought to protect the sacred tooth relic. It's very interesting how each of these items in these segments have a different meaning which has evolved throughout the years.
This is a Pantheru dance performance. This Pantheru dance performance is being led by Mr. Lakmal Veerasinghe of the Hela Kala Aesthetic Academy. We now see the arrival of another elephant who shall carry a snake head canopy. And this elephant is Vasana, belonging to Mrs. Krishanti Alapatha of Ratnapura.
And following Vasana, we see a troupe of young Udaki dancers. As we mentioned earlier, the Udaki dance is a fusion of 3 acts. One is their singing, their dancing, and also they are playing the instrument. Although Udakkiya is one of the smallest drums in the drums legends of the tradition, it creates a very melodious sound. And while dancing, singing and playing the Udakkiya, these Udakki players should be mindful to maintain the tune using the tassel which is hanging in the middle.
We now see another elephant of the Sri Mahavishnu Esala Perahera, who is Rani, belonging to Mr. W.P. Deepthi Kumara of Biyagama.
While Rani passes our sight, if we are to talk about God Vishnu is believed to be the king who is bestowed with the great responsibility of protecting the island nation.
We now see the arrival of the troupe of West dancers who shall escort the ceremonial elephant who shall carry the godly ornaments of Lord Vishnu. And there's something special in this evening's Perahera. In the past days, we did not use the Ranhilige to carry the godly ornaments. And the fourth Randoli Procession takes us down to a little bit in history to showcase how the godly ornaments were carried in the ancient style known as Ate Vedamavima, or carrying the godly ornaments in hand. And this evening, the godly ornaments are being carried by the elephant Muthu, belonging to the Venerable Murundeniya Dhammaratana Thero, the chief incumbent of the Muthiyangana Rajamaha Viharaya. Let us feel the moment of how the godly ornaments of Lord Vishnu are being carried in the traditional way and feel the devotion. We now see the second troupe of West dancers of the Sri Mahavishnu Esala Perahera, who are being led by Mr. Kondadeniye Samansiri of the Samanranga Aesthetic Academy, representing the Kodituakku lineage. We see representing the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya, the Basnayaka Nilame of the Gadaladeniya Vishnu Devalaya, Basnayaka Nilame Priyantayapa Bandara, and the Basnayaka Nilame of the Alavatugoda Saman Devalaya, Bhashana Kulatunga.
As we see the conclusion of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya procession, we are seeing the commencement of the Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya procession. A light in a bright red color, we see the initial rituals being performed inside the premises of the Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya.
The Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya in Kandy is the only Devalaya that is, the Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya in Kandy is the only Devalaya that is located outside the premises of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, as it is located down the Kotugudalla Vidya that was previously known as the Kavikara Vidya of Kandy, led by the Buddhist flags and the flags of the peacock being represented by the Civil Defence Authority of Pallekele. We now see the official Hevisi ensemble of the Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya. This troupe of Hevisi is being represented by the team of Hevisi who is seconded to the service of the Muthiyangana Rajamaha Viharaya, and we see P.V. James Gurunanse and Shanika Ruwan Patirada who represent the Yakavela Tammattam lineage and the Badulla Halpe Lalita Aesthetic Academy.
The Hevisi troupe of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya too is quite notable when compared to the other troupes of Hevisi due to the difference in the tunes and tempo. The style of Hevisi not just depends on the regional or situational variances but also varies among the several lineages that perform the traditional duty.
Leading the way is the elephant Sankaraja of the Amilipitiya Sankapala Rajamahaviharaya, who shall carry the official with the peacock flag, leading the procession of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya.
In fact, Nilesh, we would say the peacock being symbolized throughout the Sri Maha Kataragama Devala procession because the peacock is believed to be the mount of God Kataragama. Lord Kataragama, or the god of war, is a divine deity who is worshipped as Kanda Kumara, Kartikeya or Murugan in South Indian tradition and as Kanda Surindun or as Kataragama Deviyo in Sri Lankan cult. He is considered as one of the most powerful deities who has an appearance of 6 heads and 12 hands, who sits on a peacock with his consorts Tevani Amman and Wali Amma.
The Savarang dance troupe who we see is being trained and led by Mr. KPNG Kumara of the Nitya Aesthetic Academy.
These Savaran dances again reminds us of the ancient rituals of fanning the requilleries of gods with great veneration. Coming into sight is the Gajanayaka Nilame of Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya.
And he is on the mount of the elephant Banda belonging to Mr. Sisira Samarakone of Polgavela.
Coming into sight is a troupe of Udaki dancers. We can see the representation of different ages in this dance act, which signals that the young vigor is something that will keep these traditions alive for many more years.
Here we see the elephant Raju belonging to Mr. Chamila Bandaranayaka of Gannoru in Kandy. Chamoda, don't you witness a speciality of the Sri Mahakataragama Esala Perahera in terms of the elephant costumes in red?
Indeed, Nilesh, it is because the god Kataragama is symbolized with the color red. And now coming into sight is a troupe of Pantheru dancers. As we mentioned earlier, this authentic costume of the Pantheru dancer can only be seen in the Esala Procession. While dancing their way on the streets of the Kandy city, they are also seen to chant verses. These verses are believed to be the glory of Lord Buddha or else the glory of Lord Kataragama.
Just as the Perahera shall change its beat to a different flavor, we are now seeing the elephant Rani belonging to Mr. Nalaka Jaisingh of Godagama.
And now we are seeing the dance performances taking a twist. With this addition at the Sri Mahakataragama Esala Procession, which is a peacock dance followed by a Kohamba Kalaya dance and followed by a Kawari dance. We can see the tempo of the music going up. Now coming into sight is a very unique dance performance affiliated to Lord Kataragama. Among the many different offerings that are made towards Lord Kataragama, Kavadi dance is renowned as one of the most prominent dances of devotion that is performed to impress the likings of the king. Kavadi, in fact, is a Tamil word that translates to burden in English language. And this dance ritual originates from the South India by the name Kavadi Attam or the burden dance. The energy with which these dancers are dancing tells us something. It tells that the devotees believe that Lord Kataragama is impressed by the energy. And the Kavadi dance is one of the key interpretations where these performers hold a hillock known as Kavadi, or a physical burden, a semicircle shaped wooden prop with peacock feathers attached to it on their shoulders, and dance to the fast tempo music.
Careful attention can make us hear the preaching of Harohara, which is in fact the main calling by the devotees towards Lord Kataragama. And these troops of dancers were being led by Mr. Mahesh Veerasekara, Mr. Deshan Nipun and Mr. Indika Prasad.
That was indeed a massive crowd of dancers, and following that massive crowd of dancers, we are seeing a West troupe starting off with a very young dancer. It's indeed a pleasure to see these young girls taking the streets, paying no heed to the downpour we are experiencing at the Kandy city today. Just like what we saw in the Natha Devalaya procession and the Vishnu Devalaya procession, these West dancers again hints us of the impending approach of the most awaited moment of this Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya procession, which is the carrying of requilleries of God Kataragama down the streets of the Kandy city.
The unity of Sri Lanka is displayed here as the Nadaswaram instrumentalist by Mr. Bhuminathan is mingled into this procession. And this evening, the requilleries of Lord Kataragama are being carried by the elephant Esala belonging to Venerable Kadwasthota Sarada Thero, the chief incumbent of the Pirisyala Sena Nayaka Mudalindara Pirivana, and Esala is accompanied by the elephant Aruna belonging to Venerable Higura Chandra Thero, the chief incumbent of the Handal Rajmahawihara in Wattala, and the elephant Gamunu belonging to Mr. Ratnasiri Arangalla of Veyangoda, headed by the Iyer of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya. Let us now take a moment to feel the devotion towards Lord Kataragama.
And following that devout moment, now we are witnessing the second troupe of West dancers in the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya procession.
Just like the previous West dance troupe who we noticed, this dance troupe too is being trained by Mr. Gaishan Malagamana of the Malagamana Aesthetic Academy.
An ancient poem translated from the book of Sangarajavata recites the story of the Kandy Esala Perahera.
Representing the Basnayak Nilame of the Sri Maha Kataragama Deval in Kandy, we see the Basnayak Nilame S.K. Ratnayaka, who is the lay custodian of the Morape Kataragama Devale in Pusellava.
Coming back to the poem which is translated, the procession is taking place in the month of Esala, held from time ago in favor of gods above, led by the grace of the Buddha, followed by the deities. The Perahera shall perambulate just as the king did commemorate.
And now we are commemorating the start of the Sri Mahapattini Devala Perahera.
We see pictures of the initial rituals being carried out within the premises of the Sri Mahapattini Devala.
Led by the Buddhist flags, we are now seeing the official Hay-visit troop of the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya. Once again, it's very fascinating and amusing to see how this drastic rain cannot seriously stop the Perahera. That is the pledge which is promised. Even though whatever the problem that may occur, the Perahera shall continue. Now we see the Gajanayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya, who shall sit majestically on the elephant maniche belonging to Mr. Anura Kempitiya of Kegor.
Goddess Pattini is the only female representation in the clan of goats represented in the Esala Perahera. Just like Goddess Pattini, the only female representation of dancers is also seen only in the Pattini Devalaya procession. And now we are seeing the first troop of female dancers taking the streets of the Kandy city.
Here we see the elephant Sita belonging to Mr. Roshan Samarakkodi of Maharagama.
Following Sita, that she-elephant, we are seeing another troop of female dancers, rather female Savarang dancers taking the streets. So far what we have seen were male Savarang dancers, and this is the first time we are seeing females vibrantly dressed and in their composed styles dancing the Savarang dance.
This troupe of Savarang was trained by Miss Ajanta Kandegedara of the Sarasavi Aesthetic Academy of Mulagoda. Now we see the arrival of the elephant Tarindu belonging to Venerable Kobawaka Damminda Thero, the chief incumbent of the Kirivehera Rajamaha Vihara in Kataragama. Following the Patru dance act, we are now seeing the arrival of the elephant Raja belonging to Mr. Asanka Vijayasinghe of Balangoda.
And now we are seeing a troupe of Nayandi dancers This is also the first time that we are seeing a female troupe of Nayandi dancers. We can see the accessories which are unique to females being worn by these dancers and adding more color and vibrancy to the procession today.
The female Nayandi dance is indeed a creative choreography of the masculine Nayandi dance performance that is suited to be performed by females. And this troupe of female Nayandi dancers are being trained by Miss Lakshmi Kumari of the Ketumati Aesthetic Academy of Murtalawa. We now see the entrance of another elephant of the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya, who is Manike, belonging to Mrs. Shriyani Gunawardana of Dangovita.
And now coming into sight is a troupe of traditional upcountry female dancers who are in a dance of Pantheru dancing. And this is the first time again we are seeing females dancing this Pantheru dance.
This troupe of Pantheru dancers are being trained by Miss Vindhya Kulasiri of the Jayashani Upcountry Aesthetic Academy of Gorkadeniya. Here we see the elephant Chuti Manike, belonging to Mr. Bharata Amaratunga of Migoda.
Coming up next is a very unique form of a mixed folk dance, or rather a dance depicting the basis of agriculture in Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka is a primary sector economy who used to focus a lot on the agricultural and farming industry. This is one of the most beautiful dance acts of the Perahera, which portrays the entire picture of the agrarian lifestyle of Sri Lanka.
Indeed, this dance shows the people the unique culture that grew in our country centered around the rice plant. The new rice ceremony, or the Alut Sahal Mangalya, is a traditional celebration held in the month of January. The tradition of Senkadagala kings of offering of the superior harvest obtained from the Guru Deya paddy lands is a practice that is still carried on today, where they offer the prime harvest in honor of Lord Buddha.
This troupe of West dancers who shall escort the way for the ceremonial elephant is being trained by Mr. Chandana, Mr. Mithun Bandara of the Mithun Bandara Aesthetic Academy of Watapuluwa.
Coming into sight up next is a troupe of West dancers. These West dancers also sign that the most devout moment of the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya is arriving, where the requelaries of Goddess Pattini will be carried down the streets of the Kandy city. And if someone closely observed the requelaries of Goddess Pattini, you could see a small statue of Goddess Pattini attached to it.
Usually, the role of carrying the ceremonial godly ornaments on a Perahera is delegated to a male elephant. But today, we see a female elephant who is prestiged to carry the godly ornaments of Goddess Pattini. She is none other than the lucky elephant Manike belonging to Mr. H.R. Nishanka of the Goda.
I think Nila, the Perahera today gifted us with a lot of pleasant surprises, and that was indeed one of them. And now we are seeing the second group of dancers, or rather the last troop of dancers that we will see in the fourth Randoli procession today, taking their strides in the streets of the Kandy city.
This troupe of West dancers are being trained by Mr. Chandana Jayaratna of the Chandana Aesthetic Academy of Matale. In the fourth Randoli Perahera, we would not be seeing the arrival of the best Basnayak Nilame of the Sri Mahapattini Deval in Kandy, but instead he will be represented by two representations of the rural Devala shrines. This evening, we see the Basnayak Nilame Ryan Valisundara, the Basnayak Nilame of the Amboka Pattini Devala in Matale, and Basnayak Nilame Srimat Bandar Velivita, the Basnayak Nilame of the Wallahagoda Kataragama Devala in Kampala.
We can see these two Basnayak Nilame are being provided with the utmost respect, with two lines of guards on either sides of the streets. It is the custom that 4 palanquins, which are called Randoli in Sinhalese, are being carried right at the end of the procession during the 5 nights of Randoli Perahera. The 4 palanquins represent the queen's identity in the Perahera, and they in fact represent the 4 Devalaya, Natha, Vishnu, Kataragama and Pattini.
And that marks the end of the fourth Randoli Perahera of the Kandy Esala Perahera 2023.
And tomorrow you will witness the grand Randoli Perahera, which will be the last day of these 10 days of pageantry.
Let there be timely rains that will full the bountiful harvest.
May our country prosper. Dalada Samindu Pihitai.